Caitanya-caritāmṛta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Excuse me. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Prabhupada Disciples Association and Hare Krishna Society. And we want to thank you for joining us this evening at our regular sadhana program, weekly sadhana program of classes, which are Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And I wanted to mention that if you do like the classes and you do appreciate them, please subscribe in our YouTube channel, that you get the regular invitations to the program. And also recommend other people. We have a invitation that you can get from us if you request it. Of course, this one has been changed, unfortunately, to the Wednesday to the Thursday schedule. But at any rate, I give them out wherever I go so that people can get a chance to hear the philosophy of Krishna consciousness without any adulteration. So please subscribe or recommend your friends to subscribe. And if you appreciate this program, you can also acknowledge that by helping us with the publication of books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And we're moving ahead with the printing of the Delhi Bhagavatams, and they're in the process of now converting all the files to the proper format so that the printing can be done. So this is stepping forward. And this, along with other books we want to print, namely original books, require funding. And so we have a GoFundMe page. It won't be available tonight for you to see, but you can always, if you decide to donate for the book distribution. And by the way, I wanted to mention that our group does not take any salaries. That is not our work. And we have no admin costs in terms of what we do. Everyone is volunteering their time and energy for this, for all these programs. I put a recent post up, Nilesh, on our Prabhupada Disciples Association page, group page. And by the way, I wanted to mention to all of you that we do get probably 100,000 views of our posts every month. We have a series of people that do post on the group page. And there is a very interesting reaction to the truth being disseminated. Now we're in these current days, we're stressing on the deep state of ISKCON, of misconception, mistruth. And we also put up a section on salaries. I won't read it today, I'll read it on Saturday. But it's getting a good response. Within one day, a lot of the posts that I put up, I get over 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 views per post, sometimes 5,000, 7,000 views. So people ask us, well, what are you doing? Well, we do what we can. And we're using media. And we want to thank the people that are helping us, Nilesh and Rupesh and Bhakta, I believe his name is. And we're adding Ram Raghava Prabhu to our team of technology experts. He is also very proficient in the use of technology. He has a degree in engineering as well as a doctorate, so he's joining our team. So these are very valuable members for our group, and we do appreciate your participation as we march forward, because we're not becoming victimized by any kind of situation or circumstance that comes our way. Like Prabhupada was always challenged, and we as his disciples also face that same challenge. So we have a GoFundMe page, and if you donate to that page, then the money that you give will be used exclusively for printing and distributing Prabhupada's original unedited books. And this is, as you know, a very important part of preaching, is to preach with the right books. And the books are very potent. And invite other people to come to the classes and be a part of our discussions. We think it's a very valuable, we know it's a very valuable service for humanity at large. And we're going to go to the Nectar of Devotion today. I've been reading the Nectar of Devotion while I've been in Mexico. And I'm leaving here tonight or tomorrow morning, heading back to Canada for a short period of time, and then coming back to Mexico in due course. But I've been reading the Nectar of Devotion, and chapter 10, Techniques of Hearing and Memorizing, really struck a note for me, and I thought it might be invaluable for us to review it here before we begin our formal Caitanya-caritāmṛta discussion. The beginning of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is hearing. In Sanskrit is called Shravana. All people should be given the chance to come and join devotional parties. Here, see that term, parties, so that they may hear. So this is the idea of our program, is association with senior godbrothers who can guide people in the process of devotional service if they have any misunderstanding about it. This hearing is very important for progressing in Krishna consciousness. When one links his ears to give oral reception to the transcendental vibrations, he can quickly become purified and cleansed in the heart. So this is the medicine. It cleanses the heart of the contaminated soul that he becomes quickly qualified to enter into devotional service, which is the highest yoga, and to understand Krishna consciousness. In the Garuda Purana, the stress on hearing is expressed very nicely. It is said there, the state of conditioned life in the material world is just like a man lying unconscious, having bitten by a snake. This is because both such unconscious states can be ended by the sound of a mantra. When a man is snake bitten, he does not die immediately, but first becomes unconscious and remains in a comatose condition. Anyone who is in the material world is also sleeping, jiva jago, as he is ignorant of his actual self or his actual duty and his relationship with God. Very detailed understanding of the comatose condition. So materialistic life means that one is bitten by the snake of Maya illusion, and thus without any Krishna consciousness, he is almost dead. Now the so-called dead man, bitten by a snake, can be brought back to life by the chanting of some mantra. There are expert chanters of these mantras who can perform this feat. Similarly, one can be brought back into Krishna consciousness from the deadly unconscious state of material life by hearing of the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 29th chapter, 37th verse, the importance of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is stated by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, one should stay in a place where the great acharyas, holy teachers, speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord, and one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moonlight faces of such great personalities. So association with devotees is being promoted here. If someone eagerly continues to hear such transcendental sounds, then certainly he will become free from all material hunger, thirst, fear, and lamentation, as well as all illusions of material existence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self-realization in the present age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulated principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated, and here he qualifies it, Prabhus, by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give him relief from all material contamination, not bogus ISKCON gurus. Therefore, it is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord, not frauds, not actors. Hearing from professional men will not help. If we hear from those who are actually self-realized, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. The devotee sees by hearing, not by his eyes or she. This is a metaphor used in the above verse. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, a materialistic person can give up his material hankerings only by becoming situated in Krishna consciousness. Unless one finds a superior engagement, he will not be able to give up his inferior engagement, mundane sound vibration. In the material world, everyone is engaged in the illusory activities of the inferior energy, the deep state of ISKCON. But when one is given the opportunity to relish the activities of the superior energy performed by Krishna, then he forgets all his lesser pleasures, real renunciation. When Krishna speaks on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to the materialistic person, it appears that this is simply talk between two friends. But actually, it is a river. It is an nectar flowing down from the mouth of Sri Krishna. And it is an ocean of information from Srila Prabhupada for all of us. Arjuna gave oral reception to such vibrations, and thus he became free from all the illusions of material problems. And Prabhupada is present in his Vani incarnation. Don't forget that. That is the issue. Prabhupada lives in sound. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, hold on. 12th verse, it is stated, a person who desires unalloyed devotional service to Lord Krishna, who is praised by transcendental sound vibrations, should always hear about his glorification and transcendental qualities. This will surely kill all kinds of inauspiciousness in the heart. Also in the 10th canto of 14th chapter, 8th verse, it is said, my dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him or her, and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. This statement of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. A devotee should not expect immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds. No conditioned soul is free from such reactionary experiences, because material existence means continued suffering or enjoying of past activities. If one has finished his material activities, there is no birth. This is possible only when one begins Krishna consciousness, because such activities do not produce reaction. Therefore, as soon as one becomes perfect in Krishna conscious activities, he is not going to take birth again in this material world. A devotee who is not perfectly freed from the resultant actions should therefore continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be so many impediments. When such impediments arise, he should simply think of Krishna and expect his mercy. That is the only solace. If a devotee passes his days in that spirit, it is certain that he is going to be promoted to the abode of the Lord. Such activities he claims to enter into the kingdom of God. The exact word used in this verse is dayabhak. Dayabhak refers to a son's becoming a lawful inheritor of the property of the father. In a similar way, a pure devotee who is prepared to undergo all kinds of tribulations in executing Krishna conscious duties becomes lawfully qualified to enter the transcendental abode. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone, for listening carefully, and take it to heart, these words from His Divine Grace. We're going to move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Srila Prabhupada, and then we're going to have our Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading and discussion, and then our panel discussion with all of the wonderful devotees who are present in today's Zoom meeting. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana. Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namācārya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram chaiva narottamam. Naram chaiva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As a matter of fact, it should be mentioned that the various verses and statements which Vishwakarma Prabhu was reading from the Nectar of Devotion are very, very important. And somebody may say, well, why is that? Well, because Srila Prabhupada, during the Nectar of Devotion lectures in late October and early November of 1972 in Vrindavan, India, at the Radha Damodar temple, made a very prophetic statement, very important statement, that when you read the Nectar of Devotion, you are directly associating with Rupa Goswami. Now, for those who understand history, we all know that Rupa Goswami Prabhupada departed from this world in the late 1500s. So how are we associating directly with somebody who has already departed 400 or 500 years ago? This is the essence of transcendental life, Vani incarnation, Vani association. This is very important. That is why these readings, whether they're from the Nectar of Devotion, the diaries, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, this is directly associating with these transcendental personalities. Very important. This reading of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta is conducted on the basis of the original, non-edited, non-interpolated, non-adulterated version in 1974, and all English synonyms, translations, and purport are by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And as we do every week, we will be reading a few selected verses from the Adi Lila chapter 1, text 18 to 22, which explains the meaning of reading this powerful transcendental literature and the benefit of doing so. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Takura Gaudiya ki karye chenayatma sat. Etinera Charana Vandan Tere Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grante Rarambe Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smarane Vigna Vinashana Anayasai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala charanoi tribida prakar vastu nirdesha chiravada namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. This week we will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter 5, text number 39. Siddhaloka stutamasaha pare yatra basantihi siddha brahma sukhe magna daityascha harinahataha. Siddhaloka, the Siddhaloka or impersonal Brahman. To, but, tamasaha, of darkness. Pare, beyond the jurisdiction. Yatra, where. Vasanti, reside. He, certainly. Siddha, the spiritually perfect. Brahmasukhe, in the transcendental bliss of becoming one with the Supreme. Magna, absorbed. Daitya, cha, as well as the demons. Harina, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hataha, killed. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic manifestation, lies the realm of Siddhaloka. The Siddhas reside there, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. Demons killed by the Lord also attain that realm. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Tamaha means darkness. The material world is dark, and beyond the material world is light. In other words, after passing through the entire material atmosphere, one can come to the luminous spiritual sky, whose impersonal effulgence is known as Siddhaloka. Mayavadi philosophers who aspire to merge with the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as demoniac persons such as Kamsa and Shishupala, who are killed by Krishna, enter that Brahman effulgence. Yogis who attain oneness through meditation according to the Patanjali yoga system also reach Siddhaloka. This is a verse from the Brahmanda Purana. Text number 40. Se paravyome nayanairera charipashe dwaraka chaturvyohera dvitiya prakashe. Say that paravyome, in the spiritual sky, Narayana era of Lord Narayana, Charipashe, on four sides, Dwaraka, Dwarka, Chaturvyuhera, of the quadruple expansions, Dvitiya, the second, Prakashe, manifestation. Translation: in that spiritual sky on the four sides of Narayana are the second expansions of the quadruple expansions of Dwaraka. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Within the spiritual sky is a second manifestation of the quadruple forms of Dwarka from the abode of Krishna. Among these forms, which are all spiritual and immune to the material mode, Sri Baladeva is represented as Maha Sankarsana. The actions in the spiritual sky are manifested by the internal potency in pure spiritual existence. They expand in 6 transcendental opulences, which are all manifestations of Maha Sankarsana, who is the ultimate reservoir and objective of all living entities. Although belonging to the marginal potency known as Jiva Shakti, the spiritual sparks known as the living entities are subjected to the conditions of material energy. It is because these sparks are related with both the internal and external potencies of the Lord that they are known as belonging to the marginal potency. In considering the quadruple forms of the absolute personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, the impersonalists headed by Sripad Shankaracharya have interpreted the aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra in a way suitable for the impersonalist school. To provide the intrinsic import of such aphorism, however, Srila Rupa Goswami, the leader of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, has properly replied to the impersonalists in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, which is a natural commentary on the aphorism of the Vedanta Sutras. The Padma Purana, as quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, describes that in the spiritual sky there are 4 directions corresponding to east, west, north, and south, in which Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna are situated. The same forms are also situated in the material sky. The Padma Purana also describes a place in the spiritual sky known as Vedavatipura, where Vasudeva resides. In the Vishnu Loka, which is above Satyaloka, Sankarsana resides. Maha Sankarsana is another name of Sankarsana. Pradyumna lives in Dwaraka Pura, and Aniruddha lies on the eternal bed of Shesha, generally known as Ananta Shaya, in the island called Shveta Dvipa in the ocean of milk. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punah Punah Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso asmi sarvata tat kripa pekshako nityam tat prishta sat karomi svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This particular section of Caitanya-caritāmṛta is especially important because Krishnadas Kaviraj, when he was in Vrindavan, as we see from reading the pages of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, he was under the shelter of the 6 Goswamis. We see in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, he constantly mentioned the Rupa Raghunath, the names of Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Goswami, Raghunath Dasa Goswami. This where he heard all of the transcendental pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from these particular devotees. And Sanatana Goswami, the elder brother of Rupa Goswami, was also one of the two chief Goswamis of Vrindavan. Now we know from the pages of Caitanya-caritāmṛta and the writings of Narottam Das Thakur, who came later, that Rupa Goswami was considered the chief associate of Lord Chaitanya. We read when we beginning the Bhagavad Gita reading on Saturday morning, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Narottam Das Thakur is praying for the mercy of Rupa Goswami, who has established the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya on this earth. And there are numerous other eulogies in the Bhakti Ratnakar, Chaitanya Bhagavata, Caitanya-caritāmṛta. So these writings of Krishnadas Kaviraj were inspired by Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, the chief associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because one of the arguments that is sometimes advanced against Lord Chaitanya is that he did not write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra or a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. But when we carefully study the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, when he was in Varanasi, in Benares, spent considerable amount of time both with Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami, instructing them what to write, what books they should write. There are elaborate discussions by Krishnadas Kaviraj of all the topics that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami to write. Now, this book, Laghu Bhagavatamrita, is very important because it is a systematic description of Krishna and all of his avatars, the expansions of Lord Narayana in the spiritual world, the position of Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, and it is very systematically described. And in that book, he launches a criticism of the philosophy of the monists, the Advaitins, or what we call the Mayavadis. Now, this is especially important because, as we know, especially in India, the philosophy of the Advaitins is very prevalent. It is very prevalent. But that philosophy does not properly explain the position of the living entity and their position with the Paramatma or Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. This idea that the living entity will merge into Lord Narayana, this is based on certain statements of the Vedas, where the word Sayujya is given. Well, Sayujya doesn't mean what they think it means. Sayujya means to have oneness of service to the Lord. That the bhakta is engaged in bhakti, or devotional service, loving devotional service, for the service of Bhagavan. That is the real meaning of Sayujya, not this false idea that the bhakta will merge with Lord Narayana or Lord Krishna. As we see in this chapter of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, in the previous verse, it is explained that in text number 39, beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic manifestation, lies the realm of Siddha Loka. The Siddhas reside there, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. Demons killed by the Lord also attain that realm. So there are numerous explanations. In text number 38, we see in text number 38 that impersonal Brahman effulgence consists only of the effulgent rays of the Lord. Those fit for Sayujya liberation merge into that effulgence. So it's important to understand that the destination of those who practice bhakti is very different than those who are engaged in this jnana yoga platform, or the Advaitavadis, or the Mayavadis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we see in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, has very strongly criticized the followers of Shankaracharya. He says, Mayavadi oi Krishna aparadi. Those who are Mayavadis, preaching the oneness of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. In another place, it is described, Mayavadi bhashya sunane hoy sarvanash. Sarvanash means finished, destroyed. That if one hears the nonsense commentaries of the Mayavadis, their spiritual life will be finished. Now, fortunately, there are many great Vaishnavacharyas in all the Vaishnava Sampradayas who have written commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, explaining the real meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. Now, in our Sampradaya, although there is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra by Sripad Baladevi Bhusana, but Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for that matter, did not write the specific commentary on every sutra of the Vedanta Sutra. But as Srila Prabhupada describes in these purports, that this commentary on Vedanta Sutra is found in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Now, I don't know if we've already read this text 41, which has a very, very long purport. It seems that we have read that a few weeks ago, but it's very important for anybody that seriously wants to understand the conclusion of Vedanta Sutra. It is all given in this very long purport of text number 41 in chapter 5. Now, somebody may say, well, why should we spend so much time in reading all of these detailed explanations? Well, this is what it means to be a Vaishnava, to study the purports of the great Acharyas, especially as given by Srila Prabhupada, the foremost representative of the 6 Goswamis, the current Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Now, we often hear from persons, although they may have a direct association with Srila Prabhupada, the Acharya, we also often hear various interpretations of Srila Prabhupada's statements. There's a lot of distortion and unfortunate misrepresentation of many of Prabhupada's statements, especially before the departure of Srila Prabhupada in 1977. Many persons have chosen to interpret various statements of Srila Prabhupada for political purposes. What do we mean by that? Well, we know what we mean. Everybody knows the current controversy, the unsettled controversy between the alleged appointment of different alleged successor gurus and whether Srila Prabhupada was meant to remain as the actual guru of his transcendental movement. Now, when we carefully look at the history, because now many things are coming out, especially on Facebook and other social media, where people are giving their historical memories and their historical accounts of what took place in 1977 and 78. And it's interesting that many persons, and we've dealt with this many times before, do not seem to comprehend Prabhupada's statements, not just one isolated statement, to fit their political narrative or political agenda. That is characteristic of the D state, which I call the GBC ISKCON swamp, that they're very expert at misrepresenting Prabhupada's statements out of context and carefully disregarding so many other statements that do not fit into their political nonsense agenda. Now, it's one thing to take a statement of context or cherry pick from the books and say, oh, Prabhupada said this, that's it. Well, there are numerous other statements. Why are they being neglected? Why is it that in 1977, after the May 28, 1977 conversation, that the report that was issued to all the temple presidents in ISKCON omitted any reference to the discussion about initiation that had taken place? Why is it that the complete unedited transcript of that conversation was never available for about 9 years? That every paraphrasing or release of that alleged appointment conversation had so many different versions. Why is it that Srila Prabhupada's will was not available for almost 10 years? Why is it that this so-called appointment conversation was not played to all the devotees at ISKCON Mayapur in March of 1978 for the first Mayapur festival after the departure of Srila Prabhupada? Oh, but some people will talk, oh, I was there. I really know what Prabhupada intended. Oh, really? You really knew? So if it was so clear, why did you have to consult so many other people from various neo-mats, various persons who were characterized by Srila Prabhupada as having disobeyed the instructions of their spiritual master? When did Prabhupada ever say you should consult such a person how to manage his movement? Srila Prabhupada in October of 1977 asked several of his leading secretaries whether the initiation issue was very clear. Prabhupada said his name was on the list. He didn't say his name was on that barely audible so-called appointment tape. No. Prabhupada referred to the list. What list was that? On July 9th, 1977. It's interesting when we carefully look at the history, or at least the available history of this controversy. Many persons who profess or claim that they had so much direct personal association with Prabhupada cannot seem to see things as they are. They cannot see the actual history of what has happened. It is not a mystery when we look at the activities of the original 11. The controversy is not difficult to understand when we look at statements in the Nectar of Devotion, when Srila Prabhupada clearly says that a bona fide spiritual master will never become like that or deviated. Why so many blatant, scandalous deviations? Why so many cover-ups? Why so much banning, beating, killing, ostracizing, excommunicating? I love that term, excommunicating. Is this the return of the Catholic Church in the Inquisition ages? No, they cannot discuss, because discussion means we have to look at the history and start asking some hard questions. How is somebody worship on a level of Nikunja Yuno, or the sum total of all demigods, become a debauchee, or a sexual pervert, or a sexual deviant? Oh, no problem. The deep state in the swamp will fix it for you. We'll just vote him back in. And all the people waiting in line with their meal ticket, oh, no problem, we'll elect you. We'll vote you in. Oh, really? And Prabhupada gave you some kind of reference somewhere to do that? We all know Prabhupada's statements in the Bhagavad Gita. How a bona fide spiritual master never deviates from the instruction of the Supreme Lord. The nectar of devotion, which we just quoted, Prabhupada says a bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. So when somebody is not properly authorized, now they may have whatever interpretations they want, but the history, when we carefully study the actual history, it really doesn't show much verification of their position. Now, people may have their own interpretation. We don't dispute that people are entitled to their own beliefs and their own interpretation. But what we are concerned about is the actual intent and desire of the Acharya, the bona fide authorized Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. That's what we're concerned about. We all know what Prabhupada said about the breakdown of the Gaudiya Math, the famous institution of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. That was very clear. It's there in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. It's there also in private conversations with various leaders, where Prabhupada analyzes the mindset, the psychology. He even gives the names of these people. In one conversation, he describes some of them as severe offenders. But yet, the swamp told us that Prabhupada allegedly said that we should go consult some of these individuals to find out what Prabhupada really wanted for initiations. Oh, really? But Prabhupada said, is it clear? And they said, yeah, it's clear, Prabhupada. So if it's clear, why did you go there? If something is clear, it doesn't need further clarification, especially from individuals who historically have shown that they have deviated from the instructions in the order of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. There's a lot of unanswered questions because there are many different interpretations we see still floating around. One of them was still floating today, of an older senior devotee claiming, I was there. I knew what Prabhupada really intended. Oh, really? You really knew, right? Then how did these 11 deviate so much if you knew so much? Why did you support all this nonsense all these years? That they cannot explain. He mentioned, oh, Prabhupada in 1966 said such and such thing. And I kept reading and say, well, where is that statement? Where's the actual statement from Srila Prabhupada? When Prabhupada said, when I order, oh, that they don't want to quote. No one, no devotee in this movement in the last 46 years has ever been able to show where that order was ever given by Srila Prabhupada in 1977 for any disciple to be initiating Acharya or Diksha Guru. Where is that order? Where is the evidence? Where is the record? Just like when you go to court, you can't just start accusing somebody. Oh, you offended me. You did this. You did that. Oh, okay. I appreciate the concern, but why don't you give us some evidence? What is the substance of your position? You have to articulate your position, not just emotion or rage or unbridled anger. You have to get the facts straight. Without getting the facts straight, because the judge will catch it. It will come out. And what is now coming out in this movement is the swamp is being exposed with so many lies, distortions, falsehoods, fabrications, exploitation, banning, beating. One example was Srila Prabhupada's Sanskrit editor, Panditji. He was driven away from this movement. Why? Because he expressed concerns about what they were doing in 1978. Not just him, but many other individuals were driven away. One such foolish person stated, oh, there is no place in Alberta for smarter Brahmins like so-and-so in Vrindavan. Oh, really? Which movement are you talking about? The swamp movement or Lord Chaitanya's original movement? Under the acharyas like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Any devotee in this movement is entitled to get answers to their legitimate bona fide questions. And when the swamp interprets things, everything becomes distorted. Everything becomes distorted. When the members of the swamp were asked in February of 1979 in Vrindavan that it was clear that Prabhupada did not appoint one acharya or a group of acharyas, how can anybody say they were appointed as initiating acharyas? Their reply says, well, yes, but Prabhupada says the GBC is the ultimate. Well, that's not an answer to the question. When and where was anybody ever appointed as initiating acharya? If Prabhupada did not appoint one, what makes things that these people think he appointed 11? This is characteristic of the swamp and the deep state. They don't want to answer these questions because they have transformed the movement from a pure bhakti movement into a karmakanda business. What does Prabhupada say in the 8th canto? There are many karmis in the dress of devotees in the Krishna conscious movement, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is expert to detect them. Now, what's happening, my friends, is that many members of the Swan are being detected every single day. Do not fall for their false propaganda. Do not fall for their lies. Do not fall for their falsehoods. Thank you very much. To whom it may concern. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that wonderful explanation of the history of Krishna consciousness after Prabhupada's, during his time and after his departure. And it is unfortunate, Nilesh, that many people had been so disappointed with the circumstances that evolved that instead of continuing on with their process and taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, they decided to go to the Gaudiya Math. And this was because they were so lost because of the misinformation that was being projected by these so-called ambitious leaders. I say so-called ambitious leaders of the ISKCON group. And in this case, and you know, Nilesh, this wonderful devotee, the Jadharani, the artist, was a victim of that. And in fact, I believe that in New Vrindavan, because she was so confused by the whole political nightmare there, and she spoke up, she was beaten. She was actually beaten by the devotees there, and she left and went to the Gaudiya Math. And there, that sends people into more confusion because their comment, some of their acharyas or so-called leaders, said that Prabhupada never delivered the higher transcendental knowledge of Gaudiya Vaishnava in his books for us. And that's recorded. Today's reading was a direct connection with the internal potency of the Lord, explaining about the spiritual world and all the different aspects of it by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. And it's very detailed. These purports that we've been reading from Caitanya-caritāmṛta in the last month have given us deep insight that no one can receive outside of the disciples of a bona fide spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada. And that, we should understand, is a great privilege and honor for us. Prabhupada encouraged us to only read his books. There's one person online, and I'll move quickly so we can get into our panel discussion. There's a person online who's reading all kinds of books He's a bhakta, a neophyte, not even a neophyte. He's a person starting in. He came to our classes last year for a short period and then disappeared into his world of mental speculation and neophyte behavior. Not even neophyte, really, because a neophyte is really trying to learn properly. But this guy is totally on his own. It's called anarchy. You just go on your own. You think you can learn, you'll read the books, you'll become. But he's totally confused. Recently, Nilesh, he's been posting all kinds of items on Facebook. You know what I did? Yaśodā-nandana, I put snooze for 30 days. Boom. And guess what? I don't have to see this guy's crazy nonsense anymore. And it's a great relief for my mind to have to not be disturbed by this madness from this guy because he reads too many books. And I told him, don't read them. Sometimes devotees, neophytes read other books, but this will never, this was never authorized by Prabhupada, and this gives us he gives us a clear view of the path of bhakti yoga under his guidance only. Now I'm going to read a letter excerpt, if Nilesh could bring it up. And Yaśodā-nandana, it's Los Angeles, December 25th, 1973. And it's a letter to Guru Kripa Prabhu and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. So it's very appropriate since our chief lecturer is in this letter. Please accept my blessings. Karandar has received a letter from Tamal Krishna Goswami, and he's expressing some hesitation about you returning to India. I can understand that previously there must have been some quarrel amongst you, and that sometimes happens amongst God brothers. When whatever is done is done. The main thing is we must not carry grudges or continue to quarrel amongst one another. So I'm asking you personally, along with Tamal Krishna Goswami, to whom I'm sending a copy of this letter, to bury the hatchet and join together to push on this movement cooperatively. Now that's what we are asking everybody that's in our group and outside of our group. Let's come together and work cooperatively to distribute books and reestablish Prabhupada's legacy through preaching the Vani incarnation understanding of his presence. Tamal Krishna has been appointed by me to manage and direct our Indian projects, and actually he is the most expert and qualified in this connection. You both are also sannyasis, and I know that the service which you do best is Hare Krishna Kirtan and Bhagavad Dharma preaching. Yes, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu proves that to us every class. So I have no objections if you return to India. Rather, I know you both can be a great asset for our programs there and our programs now, everybody. And I'm requesting you, therefore, to concentrate on preaching and kirtan and work cooperatively with Tamal Krishna, who's in charge there. And he was a complete problem, by the way. But anyway, whatever imperfections, and he was a complete problem in North America. Prabhupada punished him and sent him to China because he created such turmoil in the temples, Tamal. And Tamal lied after Prabhupada left about his position as a representative Diksha Guru, and then retracted it. Yes, whatever imperfections and discrepancies may exist, if you all agree to my direction and cooperate in the right spirit, then everything will turn out. But it'll require everyone involved to be responsible in cooperating, executing, and following the instructions of the spiritual master. Now, one thing I understand that in the past you were visiting Lalit Prasad, and you may also be planning to continue to visit him when you return to India. This is not approved by me. Just like Hiranyagarbha went to Lalit Prasad, who was my godbrother, or our godbrother, and took initiation from him. And I request you not to go to see him anymore. He holds a grudge against my Guru Maharaj, and even if it is transcendental, it'll gradually appear mundane in your eyes. Whatever is to be learned of the teachings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur can be learned from our books. There is no need whatsoever for any outside instructions. Mr. Sean, these people are fools. It's in black and white, Nilesh. Very, very detailed explanations in thousands of letters on how to conduct yourself or how we should conduct ourselves. But these people, as Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu pointed out, they misinterpret this, they misinform people, they manipulate the information, and they do it for personal self-aggrandizement, for profit, adoration, and distinction, and they have destroyed the sampradaya that Srila Prabhupada started by these nefarious, whimsical activities. Yes. And I've been putting it up, and I'll end. I've been putting it up on the Facebook posts. Myself and Yaśodā, challenge anybody to a debate, anybody in the world on these matters. We challenge you. Let's go. And nobody will even call, because they're hiding in the closet of deception, misinformation, and the deep state of ISKCON and their corruption. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please. Sorry for that.
You're raising a very important issue here, because I've had different people in the past say, well, why don't you arrange for a debate? Well, in South India, we had some personal experience of dealing with an Advaitavadin who wanted to debate. And we consulted one great Madhva scholar from one of the Udupi mats, the Admaru mat, and he laughed. He said, well, the first question you have to ask is, what is the basis of discussion? What books do you accept as authority? He says, what books do you actually accept as being authority in this so-called debate? So before we can even have a discussion in ISKCON, we'd have to discuss which set of books are we going to use? The revised books, would they have seen the truth? Or the original books from Srila Prabhupada that he has seen the truth? The original books in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta that we're all reading, where Prabhupada clearly said that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur, or they didn't like that, they revised it to another version. So you can't really have a bona fide, legitimate, proper discussion with people that have changed and altered and interpolated Srila Prabhupada's original books. That's not going to work, because there's two different fundamental ideologies here. One of them is to follow the instruction of the Acharya without deviation and false interpretation. And the other of them says, well, the deep state can interpret whatever it likes according to their understanding of whatever the situation is. As a matter of fact, there was a devotee in Florida, Dhira Govinda Prabhu, who wrote a scathing criticism of this change in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta about that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur. The members of the deep tape in the swamp of ISKCON GBC wanted to change that. And one of their explanations, as farcical as it may be, well, that did not conform to our understanding of initiation in ISKCON. Who cares for your understanding? Our only concern is to follow the order and instruction of the Acharya in this movement, Srila Prabhupada, the current Acharya. But we see that many of these persons are more concerned about their interpretation of what Prabhupada wants. We don't need your fanciful interpretations. You know, in 1976 at Mayapur, two leading members brought to Srila Prabhupada a pamphlet that had been published by the High Court Acharya of the Gaudiya Math, who had taken over the place of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur at Mayapur after his departure in 1936. And in that pamphlet, he advertised himself as being the real successor, the savior of the mission, and the promulgator of the so many outlandish claims. And Prabhupada's reply to that basically was, amongst the original disciples, who is accepting him? So this is my question to these devotees that claim that you were there and you really knew Prabhupada's intention. Amongst Srila Prabhupada's original disciples, who is now accepting your members of your deep swamp, of your deep state? Who is accepting your fanciful interpretation of so-called appointment? Who is accounting your fairy tale accounts of these 11 personal associates of Prabhupada, many of whom became of debauchees, sexual predators, embezzlers, and criminals? Who is accepting this? Hardly anybody. People who receive salaries? Oh, yes, you're going to get a few people that. But most original disciples do not accept the fairy tale interpretations that have come up from the deep swamp of the GBC of ISKCON. FitCon, you do not represent Srila Prabhupada. You do not represent his original teachings. You do not represent this sampradaya. You are a deviated apasampradaya. And that we can prove systematically by your own statements, by your own reports, by your own behavior, by your own history. You want to talk? It doesn't matter what you think you understood when Prabhupada was giving instructions. By the way, these instructions of Prabhupada were suppressed in 1978. Nobody played that so-called appointment tape. Vishwakarma was there at Mayapur. I was living there with Bhagavan, Guru Kripa, and Tamal. Nobody played that so-called appointment tape. They just paraphrased, and they said, oh, Prabhupada said, if you have any questions, you can go over there to the Neomat across the river and ask questions. I was told to go there and ask him questions. He said, no, let him come here. They can ask their own questions. Thank you. And they lied even to him. They lied to the devotees. They lied to him. They lied to the whole Vaishnava communities. Why? The desire for name, fame, power, and position. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, I'm going to go to the panel. I wanted to mention, Nilesh, that in 1978, I was voted, I've mentioned this before, I'm only letting you, all of you know some history. It's not, I'm bragging, I'm just, this was a history. I was voted as the chairman of the Temple Presidents Association in 1978, globally by 108 temple presidents in Mayapur. Now, the reason that had taken place was the temple presidents were being usurped by the GBC members of any responsibility to manage the temples they founded or developed according to Prabhupada's instructions. So we were working to try to have some say in what went on, which the GBC never gave the temple presidents any position to set any policy. Terrible. It was ridiculous. Now, what happened, Nilesh? Because I was the chairman, then they invited me, the GBC, invited me to attend the first GBC meeting as a member who was not a GBC. I was the first person in the history of our movement. And I still remember being in the room with Nityānanda was there, Keith Ham, the pedophile, Bhavananda, the gay blade. He actually sat beside me, and Bhagawan was on the other side, the emperor. And there was a Satsrup, I still remember seeing him across the room with his, little frame of confusion. And the mood was this. They were celebrating. That was the fact, that Prabhupada had left, and now they were preparing to go leave Mayapur and go divide up the world amongst themselves and run the movement. Each one setting up their own guru cult. And after I came back from India, then guess who came to Toronto? Because we had the biggest temple in North America we bought for Prabhupada. Tamal came, Gopal came, Satsrup came, Jayatirtha came. All these people, Hansaduta came. They all came to Toronto to see me and see if we would accept them as the initiating guru for the Toronto temple. This is a reality that most neophyte people have no idea about. And we have, that letter today was very profound that I read from Srila Prabhupada to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and his partner back then, and gives us real insight into the facts, not the faults, of the history of ISKCON. We are not fault finders. Please, you can say that if you want, but you're a blasphemer. You blaspheme us, you can. We're not going to react. We're not going to cut out your tongue. We're not going to run away. We're not going to do the things. We're not going to commit suicide. I just read that in the Nectar of Devotion, Yaśodā-nandana. We're not going to do anything. We're going to carry on with our mission. And in this way, tell the truth to the really sincere people that are seeking the opportunity to get out of this material world through the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda Ki Jai. And Neela Shama, who's hosting today, you have your hand up. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol.
For anybody who does not even know the history of ISKCON, if we were to just understand through Srila Prabhupada's books, original books, that number one, why do we need an Acharya to evolve in Krishna consciousness? If you were to ask this very simple question, and Prabhupada mentioned this in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, where all conditioned souls, no matter who you are, no matter whether you're Harvard educated or you are what you call in a community college educated or anywhere you may be, or you have no education whatsoever, there are four problems which all conditioned souls have. They're under illusion. They are having imperfect sense organs. They have a tendency to cheat. And number four, tendency to make mistakes. So when we have these four imperfections, how can we understand the perfect science, which is Krishna consciousness? So somebody who is beyond these four, what you call shortcomings, and who can work himself beyond that, can understand what is Krishna consciousness. So that is why we need an Acharya. So then the question comes that in the present system, if somebody is voted in to become a Diksha Guru, who are the people who are voting them in? Now you mentioned Vishwakarma Prabhu that you were the only non-GBC member in that GBC meeting. But can you tell me that those members who are in the GBC or who are the members of the GBC, would you call them liberated souls or those which are beyond these four limitations?
They weren't. And they were the 11 so-called gurus that misinform people about their status. Go ahead.
But this is the question, is that if you are not liberated and you are one of those conditioned souls which have the 4 problems, how can you choose somebody who is beyond this and choose a Diksha Guru? That is my question to you. So if you see, the whole setup is that somebody, a group of conditioned souls, want to come and vote somebody to become a Diksha Guru who will take you beyond these 4 deficiencies, is one of the stupidest things which I've ever heard about. And yes, you are absolutely right that they went ahead and divided the world, and that is why they had the zonal Acharya system. Now, in which Vaishnava literature have you seen that they have divided the universe up where this is going to be my section and that is going to be your section? No. You will choose whoever you want to become your Guru Maharaj. You know, you are going to choose from the different acharyas, whichever it is going on over there. So this concept that if you look at the historical concept, whether you were there in 77 or you were not there in 77, you just follow the diktats of what Prabhupada is teaching us. Everything fits into its proper perspective. You see,
Let me clarify. Let me clarify one point. It is very easy for a senior devotee to direct people to Prabhupada if somebody asks, how do I become initiated? You just have to tell them, just like we did when Prabhupada was present, and now he's present in the Vani. It's not that you just choose a guru. The guru is already here. He's existing, and we're protecting his legacy in his Vani incarnation by telling people, look, Nilesh, do you think, I had my godbrothers tell me, you should be a guru. Oh yeah, that's what they're telling. Oh, you should be there. You're so qualified.
So this
yes.
part can be easily settled up, Prabhuji. This part, why are we directing everybody to Srila Prabhupada? Because Srila Prabhupada is the only person who's beyond these 4 avaguns or the 4 problems, because he comes from a liberated state. Now let's understand what is a liberated state.
Well,
let us understand that there are so many people who want to come into United States. Why do they want to come into United States? Let's understand it on a mundane level. Why? Because United States is considered a land of opportunity where you can create yourself a certain economic condition which is going to be far better than your home country, which includes myself. I have moved in here to better myself on an economic front. Okay. Now, if I am already in United States, and now if I want to go and visit, say, some country in Africa, okay, will that country ever, cast a suspicion on me for giving me a visa? No. Why? Because you're coming from the United States, which offers a much higher level of economic prosperity, and you want to come down to a country, there's no chance of you going to be staying over here, so we will give you a visa very easily. You see, or just having a US passport is good enough for you to get entry into many, many countries, even without a visa. Similarly, understand this, that when somebody has come from the spiritual realm, who will go after adoration, distinction, profit, and diplomacy? Who will go after that? Those who are in this material world, who think that this material world is all in all. But those who have experienced a higher degree of happiness, remember, Prabhupada always tells us, you do not know what is happiness. So if you want to really know happiness, you have to be at the spiritual realm. And if you are at that spiritual realm and you have tasted that spiritual happiness, what kind of material happiness will equate to that? Even if I were to take Prabhupada in a private jet, even if I were to take Prabhupada in a super yacht, do you think that it will sway him from Krishna consciousness? No. Why? Because he has tasted the real happiness, the unlimited happiness. So who is going to go after adoration? Who is going to go after distinction? Who is going to go after it? Somebody who's still on the material platform. And can such a person take you to a higher level of Krishna consciousness? This is my question to everybody. Just apply simple logic.
That's the answer is we are explaining the truth to people in these classes without any confusion. that you direct people to Prabhupada, Prabhu. That's your job. Prabhupada wants you to make disciples. That's you're a teacher, you're a learned person. You make disciples when I use that term, make, obviously Krishna and Prabhupada are making them, but you direct them, I should say, to understand properly the philosophy of Krishna consciousness based on the principles that we're expounding in all of our classes. This is the first thing. And then distribute books that have not been adulterated, contribute money to it. We have a goal, I'm not saying you specifically, but whoever has money, they can distribute money for that reason. I'm working on a lady, I'm hoping she'll give a donation of a few $100,000 to us. That's work. Just like if you sell a car. I've sold tens of millions of dollars of cars, as you know, in my part of my career. Real estate, I've sold bought and sold millions. But what is more important? Let's get millions for spreading Krishna consciousness. Yes, that's our job, service. Yaśodā-nandana. Let's get Tim Lee to speak. We'll go to Tim, and then we'll let Yaśodā-nandana come in again, and maybe Dharma Bhavana. We're moving over our time. But Tim Lee, Prabhu, can you get unmuted for us? Rubesh, can you unmute Tim Lee? He's got that beautiful
Can you hear me?
picture. Yes, we can.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, Haribo. Well, I think it's interesting. There's a big Christian community. It's one of the biggest in Texas. It's called Daystar, and the grandmother who runs that has a son who found out that his daughter was being molested by a family member. So he reported it to her, and she just completely suppressed him and said, "You're going to be causing trouble for our institution," and blah, blah, blah. And they kicked him off the board and all kinds of things. So it's creating a big scandal. But if you study it, it's exactly what happens in ISKCON. Somebody reports a problem, and immediately they're, kicked out of any office or position of authority and removed and exiled and given a bad name and all that stuff. So I think that what we experience in ISKCON, it seems like it's unique for us, and in some ways it is. But on the other hand, this happens every day. Every day there's some big clerical authority, a pope, a bishop, a priest, or whatever it is. He misuses his post. People try to correct that, and they are suppressed and kicked out and all the rest of it. So it's just interesting how history not only repeats itself within Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but the same type of history just happens basically everywhere. There's the same kind of a problem. But I think what people are predicting now is that the church is just kind of carry on as if nothing wrong happened. They still got their website up, they got all their preachers up. They're just trying to act like there's nothing wrong. But if you read the comments on their videos, all these people are saying, "What the hell? What is going on here?" So it's the same thing we're doing. We have all these forums where people are saying, "Hey, what's wrong with this guy? What's going on? What are you people doing? You can't have business as usual anymore. It's over." So anyway, I think it's interesting. I'm going to be posting something about that. But
Okay.
I just think that we always think we're unique. I mean, that's how human history is. We're the unique people. No one else has had this problem, but this is millennium after millennium. The same problem keeps coming up, and we're just experiencing it all over again. Haribo.
Yeah, in fact, Paranjan, I wanted to mention that I had a Nilesh ongoing dialogue with a Jehovah Witness. Now, this guy was very rich, actually. He owned 10,000 houses in Florida at one time. And I was a partner of his in some projects in my area. And he basically, all he did every day was take us out to lunch and have talks, conversations. We never really did anything. But he was, I mentioned to him about the Jehovah's Witnesses that they have, Puranjana, thousands of complaints about sexual abuse in their organization because they've got 5,000 or 6,000 members. So it's common that in any kind of organized religion, what to speak of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is a breeding grounds for homosexuals to molest young altar boys. And the fact of the matter is, the statistics are there if you go online. How many homosexuals are in that group of priests pretending to be celibate? And so this kind of abuse goes on in all kinds of religions and groups, you know that. The best thing we can do is not to be concentrated on that, to concentrate on our program of restoring Prabhupada's legacy in his unadulterated books, which we are doing, and I'm encouraging everyone to donate to the GoFundMe program that we have, because we will do this, and at the same time, promote our programs so that people can push the subscribe button and join us so we expand what we're doing. This isn't just something for us. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could give us a concluding word here on this very lively discussion this evening. Thank you, Nilesh, for your input.
Well,
Go
both
ahead.
of you, Vishwakarma Prabhu and Nityānanda Prabhu, have raised some very important points. It's just like there's a common example. If you have a gold chain, you can't replace a missing link with an iron link or a tin link. It has to be a gold link. So this false idea that somebody can claim to either succeed Prabhupada or claim to have been appointed by Prabhupada is the root cause of all these deviations in this movement. Prabhupada, all he did is nominate some individuals to carry out the how would I say, the technical aspects of the initiation procedures, and he gave clear indication that he was to remain the Acharya, the Diksha Guru. They did not like that. Why? Because it didn't fit into their personal ambition. It didn't fit into their personal desires. It's not very complicated. The point that has been raised about corruption by Puranjana, in our movement, the corruption was very systemic. The problem is the people that facilitated and covered up for the corruption and are still covering up for corruption like child abuse, child exploitation, book changes, abuse of devotees, and so many things. Because if one thinks that he is absolute, then, well, who's going to tell the absolute what to do? I had a very interesting conversation with one of Puranjana's former associates who helped to compile that little book, Our Living Guru. And he went to Professor Stilson Judah in Berkeley. And Professor Judah brought up some very important points to him. He says, the problem with your movement is it seems that you have some gurus who are acting on a platform of antinomianism. And he says, this means somebody who thinks he's above the laws of man and above the laws of God. He's above everything. Says, unless there's accountability and also this interfight with devotees is destructive of the structure of the movement, is destructive of the momentum of the movement, unquote. And this is the biggest problem, because some people think that we're trying to destroy the movement. No. We're trying to clean it up. We're trying to help it. We're trying to restore it to its original vitality, its original momentum. But we're facing a lot of obstacles from the kind of people that Nityānanda Prabhu was describing just a few minutes ago. People who are too attached to their business. It's like there's Shuddha Bhakti or pure devotion and Karmakanda or devotion for personal profit. This is not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. This is not what our Srila Prabhupada taught. But once the leaders are attached to the puja and the money and the prestige and the name, fame, power, profit, adoration, distinction, it's very difficult to function. And let's not be fooled by this, that there are many so-called Prabhupada-nugas or so-called Ritviks who are also affected by this. The GBC of ISKCON and their deep swamp does not have a monopoly on the Pratishta disease. It's affecting many of these devotees. Therefore, people should concentrate on Srila Prabhupada, his original books, and associate with those who are serious about following his divine grace in the pure and original form.
Haribo, thank you. We're going to end the program. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And please note that we'll be back on Saturday morning. I'll be back in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. It'll be a 10 a.m. class for me. And whatever time zone you're in, you can check on it. We're in the Eastern time zone. And very lively discussions and conversations with our membership. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of us through the Hare Krishna Society website or subscribe to the Hare Krishna Society YouTube page, please. And we have over 1,000 hours of broadcasts, very educational, very informative. It'll clear up all the cobwebs of confusion in your life about the ISKCON world that has gone into chaos, let's say. And that chaos has been a result of the whimsical behavior of a few. The Gaudiya Mat Part 2. So all glories to the Sankirtan movement. And we're so excited to have this service, all of us collectively, to please our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And that service of pleasing him will take you back home, back to Godhead. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll move on with a quick kirtan. So please stay on for the kirtan. I see people drop off or whether they got to go to sleep or something. But it's 2.5 minutes, and Prabhupada's leading the kirtan, and then the final obeisances and our list of credits of all the people that are participating in our programs. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for participating in this lively program. Vishwakarma Prabhu in Mexico, soon to be back in Hamilton, Ontario. Mother Ruchisa Devi in Montreal, Canada. We have Bhakta Rupesh in Mumbai, India, and Michael Dillon in Yuba City, California, and our good friend Neil Sharma, who doesn't seem to be here anymore, but in Miami, Florida, and all the lively discussion we're having. We invite you to come back on Saturday morning for a Bhagavad Gita reading and discussion at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 o'clock a.m. Florida time and Hamilton, Ontario time, and go back very deeply into the instruction and teachings of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, all glories to His Divine Grace.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.